Big snow on the way as we watch our system move through the country. We've got a little bit of light snow falling around the Great Lakes, but this is just round one, or the warm-up, if you will, for our major winter storm that's going to cause snow, sleet, freezing rain, and that snow could be heavy in parts of the country. We're going to dig into that in this video. If the YouTube algorithm hit you with my videos, I hope that means you enjoy this kind of stuff. And if you think you'd like it, come back, subscribe. I usually do these at least once a day, but as we're entering this storm mode, so to speak, I've been doing these updates twice a day as the models go back and forth, and there's been some consensus. I like to look at the ensembles. This is the potential of seeing more than 3 inches of snow clearly growing here. Even more impressive to me is the odds of seeing more than 6 inches. That red, that's more than 90%. Pretty impressive, and a good swath of more than 50% of somebody getting quite a bit of snow, and that extends west too. As our storm really gets going here across Oklahoma, and then it moves east. Here is where we are right now. Some snow in and around the Great Lakes. We'll get some accumulation going here into the Appalachians, into West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. Some of that snow could be heavy. In fact, the National Weather Service has winter storm warnings out now for the mountains of West Virginia, and a slew of winter storm watches have went up ahead of our storm as this snow streak moves to the east. Our storm moves into the Pacific Northwest first. It's going to drop a lot of heavy snow here. Winter storm warnings up into parts of Montana. Quite a bit of snow falling, and then low pressure developing right around Oklahoma. On the north side of that, quite a bit of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. You can see that as it moves across Kansas, the heavy snow northwest of the low. On the southern side of it, a lot of Gulf moisture moving in. Arctic high pressure holding that cold air in place to the north and just feeding it into the storm. It's one of the reasons that cold, shallow air isn't going anywhere at the surface. It's going to continue to get reinforced on a northeast wind, so it's going to stay cold enough for that rain to freeze on contact, where temperatures are going to be at or below freezing just to the north of our low. The further north you get, the colder it is, and the deeper that cold air, that's where the snow is going to be. And it looks likely from Kansas to Missouri to southern parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and northern Virginia. That snow could be really heavy too, especially right here along the PA-Maryland border. And then that moves out to sea. And watch out here along parts of southern New Jersey, down towards Cape May, and then out to Delaware. I think that snow could get really heavy as it starts to wrap up, and then we start to see things settle down. And then we watch what happens back here across Texas. Do we see some kind of development? Well, the GFS has been trying to blow up a storm here now. This would be next Wednesday and Thursday. So we're talking about 6 to 7 days out. It's not that far out. It's not like we're looking 2 weeks away. It's been consistent in developing this. Not every run, though. Last night's run kind of took it away. Sort of came back again today, so the models are waffling. They're going back and forth. The European doesn't have hardly anything as that storm develops. Let's look across the west as our storm moves in here. Some heavy snow into the Sierra, also the Cascades, and then here into the northern Rockies. That snow, again, adding up in the order of a foot or more, especially into parts of Montana and Idaho. Down into the Wasatch, we'll get some heavy snow, and then into the Colorado Rockies, and then the snow and the rain and the sleet and the mess picks up into the plains. There's your heavy snow here across the northern Rockies into parts of Montana with better than a foot of snow for some areas. And then across the west coast, we've got some snow there into the Cascades and into the Sierra. This is where the storm starts to get organized as it heads east. Notice there's not a storm here yet. And even coming out of the Rockies, you're not really going to have a surface low that's going to be very strong. A bit of a low here, but what happens is as your trough swings through, you get a new area of low pressure starting to develop on the east side of the mountains. It's a lee side low, lee side of the mountains, that is, the downwind side, and then that air column stretches, and boom, there comes your low developing. It's pulling a lot of moisture in from the Gulf. You've got freezing rain now into central Kansas. Up toward Kansas City, we're now seeing a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain on the new NAM model, which tells me these snow totals may be a little bit lower. The 18Z of the NAM, that has the same idea of that sleet, snow, freezing rain mix here. Anywhere you go over to a mixed precipitation scenario, your snow totals are going to get chewed into dramatically. Colder air behind this, and then we'll change things back over to snow where we are seeing the sleet and freezing rain. That mixed precip moves to the east, and it's going to be a mess here from southern Indiana, southern parts of Illinois, and then back into Missouri here. Some of this ice could be on the heavy side. St. Louis looked like we were going to be mostly snow, and I still think we will, but I think this mixed precip that's starting to show up is going to eat into your snow totals. Either way, you're going to get the same amount of liquid precipitation equivalent. It could just be more dense in the form of that sleet and ice. Across northern Kentucky, the freezing rain is looking much more impressive now, and we're talking about changing over to rain here on the southern side of it. We may start with some freezing rain at first here across parts of Middle Tennessee up to the Cumberland Plateau, and then as that warm air surges north, even here into parts of Kentucky, you can see we change back over to rain. But That cold air is heavy and dense up to the northern side of the state, and we stay all freezing rain here, a tremendous amount of it too. This could cause some big problems with more than 3/4 of an inch possible in some areas. I don't know that we see that much, but the models are certainly showing it at least 1/4 of an inch. And then on the north side of that, heavy snow moving into Ohio, Pennsylvania by Monday morning, into northern Virginia, the panhandle of West Virginia, into D.C., Maryland, and then eventually into Delaware and southern New Jersey. I think we're going to get some snow into Philadelphia out of this, up into Pittsburgh too. The heaviest snow I think is going to be just south of here, and then maybe just south of Philadelphia too, but some lighter snow too, maybe making it up to New York. The heavy snow to the south, and this storm isn't coming up the coast. It's going out to sea just because of the way our low is to the north of Maine, just causing that northwest flow. It's not going to let the low come up the coast, and then some lingering snow showers behind it. Let's talk about the totals. This is the afternoon European run. I think it has a pretty good idea. The NAM isn't out this far yet, but you can see the chance for snow here across New Jersey. It really picks up here into southern New Jersey down to Cape May, and then across down into Delaware. I think the southern side of this may end up seeing more of a mixed precip bag. And another thing too, some of this snow, especially north into Pennsylvania, that's falling as we head through Friday into Saturday. All right, so now we're adding more snow on top of that, and most of that heavier snow with the second storm will be south of this line. Back to the west, heavy snow across northern West Virginia looking likely. I think it's north of Point Pleasant. You get up here into Ohio, near Columbus. That would probably be the cutoff line. I think there's going to be a sharp boundary between 2-3 inches of snow, and then bang, you go over to almost a foot plus. It's going to be a pretty tight gradient too, with the way that Arctic air is just going to be setting up and really just pushing up against our system. Across Chicago, over into southern Michigan, not a lot of snow here. In fact, if you back this up, a lot of the snow back here is falling now through Saturday, and your heavier snow is way to your south. So we're talking about central Indiana, central Illinois, St. Louis, close to 8 to 10 inches of snow, but what's going to eat into that would be any sleet. Again, Kansas City, we're going to see some snow. The NAM model from this afternoon, dropping our numbers down here, but look, just south of town showing almost 20 inches of snow. The idea that you get a tight band of snow is increasing, and I think that's the thing. This is going to be a high rip-off potential storm. You can see why. The dynamics between going from 21 inches of snow to just like 5 inches just within maybe 30 miles is pretty intense for 50 miles or so. And it also shows you how a slight shift of your storm could really change things up. This is the European model. Look back towards Kansas City. It doesn't have that snow to the south as much. It's further back to the north. So there's still some differences in the placement of the exact heavy snow band to be determined. But the idea is still here for heavy icing across central parts of Kansas. I think even into Kansas City, you've got to watch for the ice over into Missouri, right across the center of the state, not quite down to the Boot Heel, but right along the Ohio River, north into Illinois, and then into the Bluegrass State, into Kentucky. Some of this could be severe. And when you talk about 1/2 inch of ice up to 3/4 of an inch of ice, some of the models are trying to show an inch, and I'm not talking about an inch of sleet. This is the freezing rain, accumulated freezing rain, 3/4 of an inch. That's going to weigh on trees and power lines, and it's going to cause treacherous travel. So this could be a huge deal for this region. North of that, that's where the heavy snow is. Ice, freezing rain possible here on the east side of the mountains into Virginia, so the Roanoke Valley up to the Shenandoah Valley, and watch out into central Virginia too. Some of that cold air could get trapped in place. And then look, this is the European printing out almost an inch of ice, freezing rain. I want to be specific, across Kentucky. I don't know that we see that. It also puts that ice down into Tennessee and right along the Tennessee-Kentucky border before that warm air scours out the cold air and we go over to plain rain. Now, across Texas, are we going to see snow here? Odds are probably not. But the ensemble guidance for more than 1 inch of snow is still showing a bullseye of 20 to 30% chance here. I want to tell you something. I'm going to back it up to where we are now. Most days it looks like this, nothing, right? You look and you look and you look and you look. Now you're starting to see some guidance suggest that it certainly could be possible. And some of this across the south too. It doesn't look super likely, right? This is the storm that's moving through now. Most of the time there's not a chance at all. So now I'm telling you there's a chance, albeit low. Look at the GFS. This is where it prints out some snow. It's probably the most bullish on the snow. The European doesn't do this at all. I'll leave you with this. A fantasy snowstorm. And listen, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Is it likely? It's not likely yet, but it is one of the possibilities on the table. The ensemble guidance, not quite on board. Not a lot of agreement. That might change. When it does, you'll be the first to know. Thanks for watching. See ya.